Welcome to Stock Therapy with Penny Queen. Today we're going to be talking about Aduro Clean Tech's news release on AstroTurf. So I had to go read the news, do some research before talking to you about it, because I think the way you frame this news actually might be as important as the news itself. So Aduro and AstroTurf Corporation signed an MOU to evaluate Aduro's hydrochemolytic technology for recycling end-of-life synthetic turf. So let's talk about why the name on that release is the story. In Aduro's March 2026 corporate presentation, they disclosed that they had already completed a test campaign on post-use synthetic turf. Their partner listed simply as confidential synthetic turf company. So they didn't have to name AstroTurf today. They could have signed another quiet evaluation agreement and kept it off the news releases entirely. Instead, a company with a 60-year legacy in synthetic sport surfacing chose to put their name publicly on this collaboration. That is a very deliberate choice, and deliberate choices by legacy brands are worth paying attention to. So to understand why this matters, you need to understand what synthetic turf actually is, because it's not a simple plastic product. The news release describes it well. Synthetic turf is highly engineered multi-material product designed for durability and long service life. The valuable parts, the polyethylene grass blades, the polypropylene thatch, and backing layers are embedded in a system that includes cured polyurethane backing, adhesive materials, sand, rubber infill, and years of accumulated field use contamination. So that combination is exactly why traditional mechanical recycling struggles with it. You can't just grind it up. The valuable plastic fractions are locked inside a contaminated matrix, and conventional processes weren't designed to handle it. All right, I need to read this part, but what the news release confirms is that Aduro's prior lab testing showed selective conversion of those polyethylene and polypropylene components into shorter chain hydrocarbon products suitable for further upgrading and as a steam cracker feedstock, while also identifying that upstream preparation and separation are important parts of the pathway. So the last part is honest and it matters. Hydrochemolytic technology is a chemistry piece. The collaboration with AstroTurf is specifically designed to work out the logistics piece: field recovery, de-infill, separation of non-target materials, cleaning, and preparation of the polyolefin fraction. All right, so Ofer Vikas put it this way in the release, and I'm just going to paraphrase rather than reading verbatim. He said that the prior testing proved that the PE and the PP can be converted, but that the broader opportunity depends on understanding how those materials are actually recovered, so prepared and delivered into the process. So AstroTurf has 60 years of knowledge about turf system design and end-of-life considerations, and that's what makes this collaboration meaningful. So let's talk about what it is and what it isn't, because I think those two things need to be kept clear, and that's actually the most bullish thing that I can do for you as a shareholder. So this is an MOU. The news release is explicit. It does not establish a commercial deployment or a definitive commercial arrangement. Any future supply, licensing, tolling, or joint development agreement requires a separate definitive agreement by these parties. But what it is the next formal step in Aduro's customer engagement program, their stage-gated approach to evaluating HCT across complex plastic streams with industry participants. So you can think of it like a clinical trial where, phase 1 is you prove the chemistry works in the lab. Phase 2 is proving that the full pathway works with real industrial partners who have real-world product knowledge. So you don't skip from lab to commercial deployment. You earn each stage. And here's what I find significant about AstroTurf specifically as a partner for this stage. Robert Mitchell, the Vice President of Development and Strategy, was quoted in the releases saying that they want to evaluate how advanced chemical recycling technologies may support circularity in their industry. He describes this as an evaluation stage, exactly what it is, no overclaiming, but also no hesitation in attaching their name to it. For a brand of that size, serving schools, colleges, sports teams, municipalities, recreational facilities, I don't think they attach their name publicly to early stage evaluations unless their own technical people have already looked hard at the chemistry and concluded it's worth a reputation capital. The news release also points out something that I think will become very important over time: the regulatory context. Policy frameworks in North America and Europe are placing greater emphasis on producer responsibility, so recycled content, landfill diversion, traceable circular outcomes. The news release specifically references New York State's Carpet Extended Producer Responsibility Framework as one example of how end-of-life obligations may shape future demand for recycling solutions. The need for synthetic turf recycling is increasing as more fields reach end of life and as customers, communities, and regulators look for practical alternatives to landfill disposal. The news release's language, that's not mine, but the framing is right. AstroTurf is getting ahead of the problem that is coming regardless, and they've chosen to evaluate Aduro's chemistry as part of that preparation. So that's a company thinking forward, not backward. So what does it mean for us as shareholders? Here's how I think about it. Real technology adoption usually doesn't announce itself with a thunderclap. It looks like this: a confidential engagement, then a named public partner, then a defined evaluation pathway, then commercial terms. Each stage requires more commitment from the partner than the last. And Aduro moved from a confidential synthetic turf engagement, which we only knew existed through the corporate deck, to a named public MOU with the original inventor of synthetic turf in just one step. That's a meaningful progression in the customer engagement program. So the chemistry piece is what Aduro brings: the 60-year institutional knowledge of turf systems, installation, performance, recovery, end of life. That's what AstroTurf brings. So together, the collaboration is designed to define what a complete recycling pathway for complex turf systems could actually look like. So I'm not going to tell you what this means for the share price. That's not, what stock therapy is about. What I can tell you is that this is exactly the kind of systematic, stage-gated, partner-validated progress that I've been looking for. And, Aduro has continued to execute, adding more companies to the CEP. And you've seen over this year so many steps that they've taken in the right direction. So as always, I am a shareholder. I am very biased. This is not financial advice. Do your own due diligence. And thank you for listening.